carnal, dice mi gente, la raza está abajo y tú estás indiferente. Prefieres cerrar los ojos, no vi nada. Estabas ocupado por andar en la tomada. Te gusta tirar el cruising todo el día, buscando a las mujeres como si el mundo acabaría. Pero no sabías que tú podías continuar tu educación para superarte en la vida. Hermano joven, levanta tu frente y siente el orgullo de ser un descendiente de los aztecas, los incas y los mayas. Ayúdame a pelear y vencer esta...
You know, you can't have a walk in the park anymore because you got them shooting banging 2x4s and shooting explosives. Dude, like, what the hell? Did you see that? Oh, that was at ground level. People, the USDA, he's shooting. You see it fall? It falls. So when he's shooting over here where people are, that thing falls. Dude, like, you know, the people are over here. So, you know, when we're talking about those explosive cartridges that come down, they come down. And, you know, these guys are shooting over here where there's people. And guess what? These things come down. Families walking there. And this people's... Really? So it almost hit you, or it ricocheted?
I don't know who they are. It ricocheted off the tree. And it landed right there by that tree.
And you dove?
Yeah, I just took a dive.
See, that's sad. He's like driving all over, shooting all over.
Shooting off straight into the river. Squirrels running. Ducks floating around in the river. There's no egrets, migratory birds even present. Here's a guy just enjoying his time. Not even shooting directly in the air, shooting straight to the river. What's the purpose of that?
Nilsi, it's Antonio Diaz with your program of Mestizo Experience. For those that have not seen my program, it's bilingual and sometimes a few other languages. So it's just welcoming you to our March 2024 program. And today we'll be discussing local issues. As you know, we discuss local, national, state, and federal issues, or whatever we can here that affects our community. Le estoy diciendo un bienvenido a su programa de Mestizo Experience. Ya saben, es programas bilingües, o lo que si no me entienden cuando estoy hablando inglés, guarden un momento y empiezo a hablar español. Estamos en el mes de marzo, el año 2024, y aquí estoy yo, su servidor, y hoy tengo un gran placer de tener aquí conmigo
Matilde Torres.
a Matilde Torres.
Otomi Pacahuacoltecan from Yanaguana.
Y vamos a hablar sobre el ambiente en un área de recreación aquí, que se llama Breckenridge Park, pero sabemos que es un área muy sagrada para nuestra gente indígena.
Yes.
Matilde, si nos quieres...
Spanish or English?
Como,
Okay.
just hit it.
Okay.
It's bilingual.
Sure.
It's up to the audience.
Right.
I'm lost. Not too bad.
So yeah, I wanna bring up about what's been going on at Breckenridge Park, and for us, like Antonio mentioned, it's a sacred area for still indigenous people that we still use that place to worship and pray and connect. And so what's happening is that part of the 2017 bond project is that they wanted to, the people had voted that they wanted to fix the trails and the bathrooms and so forth, right? And, I guess beautify the park, right? It didn't include about cutting 105 trees. And so that's kind of like where it's been about, cutting 105 trees. Part of those 105 trees was going to be 10 oak heritage trees. And then also removing or displacing the birds from that area when they've been nesting there for, thousands of years. And so that's part of like what we've been trying to spread the word. It's that there's a creation story tied to that region because of the river and connected to the Blue Hole, right? And so there is a creation story there, which it's sacred. It's a very ancient place. It's a history, a pre-Columbian history of 15,000 plus years that many of us still don't know here in San Antonio of that history or that prehistory. And so when we heard about what they wanted to do, right, that's an assault on our culture, right, on our prehistory, erasure, more erasure, right, here in San Antonio that we've seen throughout the years. And so when we heard that, we're just like, no, how can they be doing that, So everything was kind of like, I guess, under the table. There was not enough public meetings out there. And because of COVID happening too, right? But then also hear that there was a conversation still happening, I guess, for the past 10 years of them trying to remove these trees in this area. And so we do see that throughout San Antonio and our city, how much trees we've lost, even at the Alamo, in the South Side, just throughout, the city, how much we're losing, and with this heat island that we're experiencing, that's not going to help, right? Our heat or our environment, it's just going to get worse. And so Brackenridge is also the lungs of our city, the heart of San Antonio. And so just want to make people aware of that, that all the lies and everything that the city and the Brackenridge Conservancy have said about these birds, about it's a poop problem. But let me remind you that the city of San Antonio is responsible, or even a lot of the developed areas that are happening throughout San Antonio, a lot of these birds have lost a lot of their native habitat. They have lost a lot of their habitat to where they've cramped up. They've been cramped up in one area, which is Brackenridge Park, or they were also being removed and displaced from Elmendorf, right? And maybe through Woodlawn and other areas that we don't know about, right? So the birds are not a problem. It is humans and the city of San Antonio who have created this mess. And here we're supposed to be a bird city. How can we be a bird city when we are hiring the USDA wildlife to harass and displace and God knows what else to do these birds? I was going
to bring that up, that we have a short video that shows these again, people that are employed to make the noise to supposedly chase away the birds. But it's not just impacting the birds being comfortable enough to nest or roost. It's affecting the public, where the public are out there to enjoy. Like, again, it's been a park that's been there for a long time, even though for some of us, I've lived here all my life, so it's been controversial since day one, since my parents' time and my grandparents' time, being that they were excluded because it was white only, which that was most of the parks in San Antonio that were by the city. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like it's going back to that type of mentality where, oh, you all are lower rung economical people or something, and so we can go here and bang these boards and shoot this shotgun noisemakers. And if they land on you while you're eating or whatever, we really don't care. And that shouldn't be our, even though it is in District 1 or closer to Alamo Heights or District 10, where it's supposed to be more affluent, that shouldn't matter because it's enjoyed by the people throughout, even tourists. I don't know how they enjoy their parks, their city parks, if it's with people going around banging boards and shooting noisemakers in front of them, and whether they land on their kids or on their food. It's acceptable, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. But again, reflecting to how we used to be treated with a big old sign that said no Negroes and no Hispanics or Mexicans allowed till maybe on a Thursday or only for a couple of hours on this such and such weekday. Mm-hmm. That was acceptable back then. That's why I always say the date that we're on is because we're in the 21st century now.
Right.
And we still don't have the advancement as far as being treated equally. You know, I hear a lot about the city opens up a new office for this or that, or to try to bring in some sort of equity, that they say equity, where everybody be treated the same instead of equality. But I don't see it, because when you see that, or when you see what was going on in Elmendorf Park, which is, that's the west side where nobody wanted to be because supposedly gang related. I lived over there. We used to walk through Martinez Creek and Apache Creek to get to the lake, to the park. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes to get there and be told, you got to wait, you can't go into the changing area because it's still not the time for you Mexicans to be allowed to swim. See, so I remember that. And for them to do that to the birds and to go in there and do that where the public is supposed to be trying to enjoy, like we're coming up on Easter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we witnessed that last year, you know, during Easter. You know, it got pretty bad, and it was a Saturday.
People stay overnight.
Right. People stay overnight. Yeah. And so, you know, people feel that, oh, it's okay. You know, it's part of how we live anyways. We're okay with it, because we would tell people, like, look, this is what they're doing. Oh, you know. And then, of course, the lies from the park police, right? We were being harassed by the park police, you know, spreading lies that, you know, we were hostile and we were, you know, going to jump fences and so forth, and, you know, whatever. So, but, you know, just continuing to spread lies of, you know, not even, you know, we were just there documenting, of course, you know, all the wrongdoing that they're doing. But, you know, some of these explosives or these cartridges actually fell on a family of her using a baby stroller, you know. But, of course, she didn't want to come out on, you know, camera or, you know, what so. And she didn't want to report it. And she had her reasons, you know. But why do we feel that we have to allow this, you know? And you don't see this happening in other parks, you know. For instance, I mean, we just hear about so much about, you know, the Phil Hartberger Park, right? Beautiful and restoring and everything. They spend the $15 million
right? to do the bridge for the deer.
Right. But here, Breckenridge.
Let's get rid of those birds.
Yeah, let's get rid of those birds. Right where the zoo is at, you know, where we know that Houston actually created a place for them to nest, those migratory birds to nest right by the zoo. But here we just can't have that. You know, I just feel that there is not enough people that either don't have that knowledge. We have, you know, Mitchell Audubon, you know, Sierra Club. There's another one, Bear Audubon or something like that, with Bert Coleman. But not one have I heard say, it's wrong what you're doing. This is what you're impacting, you know. And what I've learned is that, you know, these cattle egrets come in, but other birds depend on this nesting season. You know, Antonio, one of the things that I've learned about what our ancestors, as we celebrate Easter or as we celebrate the, depending on religion, you know, the resurrection of Jesus, you know, it was the birds telling the story before humans came. You know, the nesting season, right? Because we celebrate Easter with eggs, right? But yet it's the birds who are nesting around this time. But yet the city of San Antonio is just not protecting their nesting season. And that is sad to see, right? That is sad to see.
But it's normal. It's like you were saying, the people that actually were impacted by some of the those shells falling near them or on them. San Antonio, the people were supposed to be known for being very docile, okay? And that's because of the colonization from the Catholic Church that dominated us. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be like peasants, just very docile. Whatever you do is okay. We're just, hey. But they forget, again, this is the 21st century. We've gone through the civil rights movement, even though that was supposed to impact mainly the black community because they were brought over here as slaves. They forget that we were colonized first by the Spaniards and then by the Anglos, by different, right. And all our languages were prohibited. Our customs and culture were trampled on and prohibited. They never bothered to learn, and that's the way we're supposed to be. Like, oh well, I don't know what you're doing. It's okay. Go ahead and pop those things over me and my family. Oh, you must have some rights to do it. I don't know. I'm ignorant. I'm just like the peasant mentality that was ingrained in us for 300 years by the Spanish church.
Right.
See, and that's the way I am. To me, we're also having a video here of Alicia
Garlock.
Alicia Garlock at Brackenridge Park so that you all can see this. And I'm also having a short video on what we call Mexica New Year, because we don't celebrate it in January when Mama's asleep. Our Mother Earth has seasons. See, like Matilda's talking about the birds and their hatching system and why they migrate and all this. It's by season, by the sun, by the movement of our mom, all this.
And to the moon and so forth.
To us, she's asleep, resting. And then she comes back and this time.
Gives life, so, and it's part of life right now, rebirth, right?
That's
and so
our
that's
spirituality,
exactly. And so that's why it's very heartbreaking to see that these birds aren't going to be allowed to nest, right? They were nesting 2 years ago. They're still at Brack, and then last year they were nesting at Patterson. So now they've cleaned up a lot of the brush and pruning the trees, and so now Alamo Heights is pretty much getting ready to even harass the birds themselves and spreading the word about how they can, get rid of these birds. I mean, do they not forget what they're sitting on, first of all, on sacred land, all the way to Almost Basin?
Pues te digo, Matilde, hablar español para mi gente que nomás habla español. Estamos hablando sobre el parque aquí de Breckenridge y las áreas donde corren las aguas sagradas que salen aquí al norte de la ciudad, como estaba diciendo, del Almost Basin, que siempre ha estado, pero nosotros como ni sabemos de nuestras propias naturaleza aquí alrededor de nosotros. Están ahorita bombardeando a los pájaros aquí en Breckenridge Park para hacer ruido, para que no puedan estar ahí. Andan pasando con tablas, se han estado ahí, haciendo ruido también para molestarlos. Pero esta situación, parte fue creada también por la ciudad, porque pusieron el zoo ahí, ¿verdad? Y dicen que por el excremento que sale de todos los animales por el río, tienen que hacer esto. Pero ellos lo crearon. Deben de tener otra solución alternativa de andar ahí molestando a estos pobres pájaros que migran para acá cada año y a la gente que usa este parque para diferentes cosas familiares de ellos. Lo que están oyendo ahorita a Matilde, a Torres y a Alicia Gerlach, que andan ahorita muy activas sobre esto. La ciudad debe de poner atención No nomás a ellas, pero a ustedes. Porque esta ciudad es de ustedes. Están ustedes pagando tantos impuestos por cualquier cosita, sus territorios, cualquier cosa que va a comprar. Y esa parte va para la ciudad. Así es como mantienen parques, como mantienen todo lo que tiene aquí en San Antonio. Tienen que ustedes levantar su voz.
Y la cosa es también que ese dinero ni siquiera está yendo, no está siendo ni siquiera invertido en el parque porque está muy maltratado. You know, y ese es, lo
Ese
hacen,
fue el bono, ¿verdad?
ese
Que pasaron en
fue
el que
2017.
17.
2017. So esto lo hacen a propósito para decir, miren, tenemos que restaurar el parque, ¿verdad? Pero ¿qué es realmente restaurar? What is restore? What we see here, part of restore, it's to destroy. It's not restore. Because one of the things we've said,
Pero es lo que le
why
dijimos a la
can't they
gente, mira,
restore the ecology
antes,
that's there
en esos
already?
tiempos, bueno, no se mantuvo ahí como estaba, sí, el cemento y todo estaba todo por derrumbado, pero era porque esa área era muy racista. Nuestra gente no podía ir para allá a disfrutar de lo que sus impuestos, su dinero, porque estos bonos, cada vez que los aprueban, tienen que incrementar 1 centavo, 2 centavos, medio centavo o algo, pero se lo están poniendo, sacando de la bolsa de ustedes. Y todo va por toda la ciudad, para allá, para Hardburger Park, para acá, aquí en Breckenridge Park, para la calle, que está removiendo muchos negocios viejos que ustedes antes disfrutaban. Tienen que levantar su voz. Si no lo hacen, ese es su dinero de su bolsa. Y lo que lo están ahorita mal usando o gastando, no están incluyendo a ustedes. Así como antes, cuando dijeron, ustedes no pueden bañar aquí porque son mexicanos. Ustedes no pueden entrar a este parque porque son mexicanos. Es nomás para los blancos. Esos tiempos ya cambiaron, hermano, hermana, ya cambiaron. Tienen que levantar su voz. Porque el dinero para componer todo eso que... Esos árboles ahí, antes el cemento que tenía alrededor que dicen que quieren proteger, ese cemento lo ponieron ahí para proteger el árbol. Pero ahora van a tumbar el árbol para proteger el cemento.
La pared.
¿Dónde está la mentalidad esa?
Right, right. Yeah, that's one of the things too, that those walls were built to protect the trees, but yet they want to remove the trees to save a wall, you know, save that wall.
That's historical.
Yeah, because that is historical, even though the trees are part of the archaeology, you know, history, right? Part of the structure, or, you know, and so one of the things too that I want people to know is that that shape of the river itself doesn't exist nowhere else in America. It's part of their cultural landscape report of Brackenridge Park that they just had in 2020. And it says it's a place where it doesn't exist nowhere else in America, right? It's the crossroads, if we really think about it, right? It's the center, and it continues to be the center of people's crossroads, right? All the way to Canada, all the way to South America, right? If we think about it, you know, our people have been using these routes as, I don't like to use migration, I say old people's road or el camino real, right? It's because that's what the animals taught our people, how to travel through those roads, right? It was part of the buffalo, you know, how they would come down to San Antonio and then go up to South Dakota or Canada. You know, it's how our people continue to move, right? It's how these birds continue to move. It's also part of the monarch fly through.
Well, you have the
right?
hummingbirds, you have the monarchs, you
So
have
I
butterflies,
mean,
you have equal.
it's a continuation. How can you remove that? I mean, they must be that crazy or that, I'm sorry, you know, to not understand that.
That blind. I mean,
They're
that
blind.
unconscious.
Exactly. Conscience. We must be conscious about, one of the things that really upsets me is that what has been taken away from the cultura here, from the gente, and that is a swimming area. You know, Barton Springs has it. San Marcos has it. New Braunfels has their swimming areas. But what does San Antonio have? We don't even have the Blue Hole flowing because
the Spaniards drained.
Because even George Brackenridge is responsible for that spring for it not to flow. He became so greedy that he was drilling holes through the aquifer, and that's where he said, "I have lost my child." Right? Well, we lost more than that. We have lost more than that. And here we are 150 years later trying to defend what still is left. We have recycled water. You know?
We have a swimming pool in San Pedro, but once there was a lake. That's what we call it, Yanaguana.
Right.
Where the people gathered because there was a lake from, being fed by the springs of the Blue Hole, that it just kept on coming down, but they plugged up the ones in San Pedro. Okay? Because I used to be able to see that back in the 60s. It still used to pop up.
Yeah. And so that's Mother Water. That's Mother Water.
Yeah.
You know? It is the reason why we have such we had a beautiful jewel that we've taken for granted. You know, why call the headwaters, incarnate word?
Again, church right there.
It's not called incarnate word for nothing. You know, Yanaguana, we are connected through Yanaguana, spirit waters, all the way to Canada, all the way to, South America, because of that river. Because it is the bridge of our ancestors. It is where we know where we can stand on the universe.
Our waters, our fresh waters,
right,
that are the aquifer, go all the way around towards Uvalde del Rio and come back around and become drinkable, right? Because right here they have so many minerals.
Right.
A lot of our people don't even know that anymore.
Right, exactly. And one of the things that also it's the reason the connection of those waters, those spring waters. Okay. The connection of those spring waters is why our other native tribes would come and take that medicine, that peyote medicine. It's because of those waters, because of what that medicine contains. It doesn't grow anywhere else but Texas and Mexico. A certain place.
Don't tell them where.
Exactly.
Tell them where.
And pretty much we're losing it.
Yeah, you tell them where.
And we need to stand up to defend what's left. Right. We need to stand up and defend what's left.
Matilda Torres and talking about Breckenridge Park and our sacred waters. Sigan sintonizando su programa de Mestizo Experience. Antonio Díaz, Kwali, Tlenesi, Tlazocamati.
Tlazocamati. Thank you.
Dice mi gente, la raza está abajo y tú estás indiferente. Prefieres cerrar los ojos, no vi nada. Estabas ocupado por andar en la tomada. Te gusta tirar el cruising todo el día, buscando a las mujeres como si el mundo acabaría. Pero no sabías que tú podías continuar tu educación para superarte en la vida. Hermano joven, levanta tu frente y siente el orgullo de ser un descendiente de los aztecas, los incas y los mayas. Ayúdame a pelear y vencer.